Proof of Heaven, A Neurosurgeon's Journey into the Afterlife by Eben Alexander, MD. Interesting. Book is interesting, I have to say that. Exactly what I mean by that. Well, I have my beliefs based on, biblical scripture. And a lot of study on that biblical scripture as far as, and especially going into Greek and Hebrew interpretations, and really delving in. So, what made this book, and I normally don't read a lot of these, what they call NDEs, near-death experiences. In fact, this is making me want to buy another book that I've always seen whenever I go to the Christian bookstore here and there. Every once in a while I go there, and there was always this book that was prominent about a young boy's near-death experience. So this is making me want to kind of read that one just as a comparison to this one. Really, I read this in half a day. It's so easy to go through. Pretty, decently written, hence the reason why it's easy to read through. The guy is a neurosurgeon who formerly did not believe in near-death experiences. Part of the reasons were his very staunch scientific background, and he kind of, whenever he ran into patients who would tell him about these situations, he just kind of wrote it off as, just some kind of anomaly in the brain. Well, this guy, which is interesting enough, caught a severe and rare infection of meningitis, which literally led his brain completely cease of any function for a week. What's interesting is they think he caught it when he went on a trip to Israel. Interesting. And what's even more interesting is his time of being in the coma and rendered of almost pretty much no brain activity. They were actually about to pull the plug on him. And then all of a sudden he miraculously came back, to the surprise of the doctors, on the 7th day. Coincidence? I don't know. So I thought it was interesting. I might do a little bit more research on this guy, and I never even heard of this before. I just kind of stumbled on this book and picked it up just because of the fact it was a neurosurgeon who wrote it, and that kind of intrigued me. Anyway, let's dig in. The view of human consciousness held by most scientists today is that it is composed of digital information, data, that is, of essentially the same kind used by computers. Though some bits of this data, seeing particular sunset, hearing a beautiful symphony for the first time, even falling in love, may feel more profound or special to us than the countless other bits of information created and stored in our brains. This is really just an illusion. All bits are, in fact, qualitatively the same. Our brains model outside reality by taking the information that comes in through our senses and transforming it into a rich digital tapestry. But our perceptions are just a model, not reality itself, an illusion. This was, of course, the view I held as well. I can remember being in medical school and occasionally hearing arguments that consciousness is nothing more than a very complex computer program. These arguments suggested that 10 billion or so neurons firing constantly within our brain are capable of producing a lifetime of consciousness and memory. To understand how the brain might actually block our access to knowledge of the higher worlds, we need to accept, at least hypothetically and for the moment, that the brain itself doesn't produce consciousness. That is, instead, a kind of reducing valve or filter, shifting the larger, non-physical consciousness that we possess in the non-physical worlds down into a more limited capacity for the duration of our mortal lives. There is, from the earthly perspective, a very definite advantage to this. Just as our brains work hard every moment of our waking lives to filter out the barrage of sensory information coming at us from our physical surroundings, selecting the material we actually need in order to survive, so it is that forgetting our trans-earthly identities also allows us to be here and now far more effectively. Just as most ordinary life holds too much information for us to take in at once and still get anything done, being excessively conscious of the worlds beyond the here and now would slow down our progress even more. If we knew too much of the spiritual realm now, then navigating our lives on earth would be an even greater challenge than it already is. That's not to say we shouldn't be conscious of the worlds beyond now, only that if we are extra conscious of their grandeur and immensity, they can prevent action while still here on earth. From a more purpose-focused perspective, and I now believe the universe is nothing if not purposeful, making the right decisions through our free will in the face of the evil and injustice on earth would mean far less if we remembered while here the full beauty and brilliance of what awaits us. And it's just interesting. It's kind of, that's what happens a lot of times. Certain books will send me into other directions or make me want to read something else, and I just keep kind of following that trail. So I'm probably going to read that book that I saw. I might even read it next. Anyway, see what you think. Hopefully, if anybody does read this, I would love to hear your views on it as well. All right, take care, bye.